Amen. Please be seated. Good morning, friends. It is nice to be here this morning to have yet another edition of The Quest. It is my privilege to say a few words of introduction about Naveen Thomas. Dr. Naveen Thomas is a consultant pediatric surgeon and the ex-director of the Bangalore Baptist Hospital. He is married to Dr. Asha, who is a radiologist, and some of you know Dr. Kurulavarki. Dr. Kurulavarki's daughter is Asha. And they have two grown-up children who are working in Bangalore. And I want to just also mention that it was many years ago, 30 years ago, as a medical student, I was sitting in a small room in Vellore, in Dr. Sarojini Pancharatnam's house, if I remember right. There was an EU meeting, Evangelical Union meeting, and Dr. Naveen was sharing. I was very impressed by the calmness, the gentleness, and the way with which he explained things, and it really struck a chord in my heart as a young medical student. And thereafter, over the last 30 to 35 years, I've listened to Dr. Naveen on multiple occasions, him taking readings from God's Word and also challenging young medical students. One of the passions among the many Dr. Naveen has is involving with medical students, and he's been the chairman of the Evangelical Medical Fellowship of India and involved in student ministry across the country. And he's been a great supporter of mission hospitals, and Baptist Hospital has been a pioneer along with Vellore and Ludhiana in sending faculty and doctors in time of need to various hospitals, and we have been the beneficiaries of his involvement and his leadership. So it's such a joy to have you with us, Dr. Naveen, and I really look forward to listening to you, and I'm sure he will help us answer the question of why we do what we do. Over to you, Dr. Naveen. Please come.
I need this. No. PPT has. I need. Yeah. Thank you very much, for that very gracious introduction. After an introduction like that, I can't wait to hear myself. I wish all that you said was true. Yeah, it's truly lovely connecting with you. The weather in Tiruvalla is very pleasant. Meanwhile, I hear that in Bangalore it has become a little cold, so much so that some of the politicians were found with their hands in their own pockets, apparently. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Jochain. Yeah, you've been very special. I remember as the batch of 82 wide-eyed medical students, you impacted us, and you have modeled a different paradigm of leadership, and thank you. And we are grateful. Sunny, thank you for being a friend, and we really miss you still in Baptist Hospital. My brother just had a surgery here. Dr. Koshi fixed his shattered humerus, and so it was nice to meet him here. Exactly 2 weeks ago, there was there was the son of a patient who was admitted here, who came to Bangalore. He visited us, and something that he said touched me. He said, he was talking about you folks here, and he said, avareല്ലാം ഭയങ്കരം friendly ആകട്ടോ. Very simple, but it was touching. So continue doing what you're doing, and thank you for being a model to many of us. Thank you for making a difference. Yes, so greetings from Bangalore Baptist Hospital. Now, it was in 2003 that the flyover next to Bangalore Baptist Hospital in Hebbal was opened. And this is what we see right now, because when it was built, we said, wow, what a waste of money. So much of space, so much of, who's going to travel? And right now, we are in the midst of a lot of action, maybe a little too much of action. Yes, fuel for the soul, what motivates you, inner spark that drives purpose and passion. Well, how much time do we have? Yes, the same question was asked to somebody, and he said, you can take any amount of time, but after 20 minutes, we'll be gone. So I get the message. Yeah. What motivates you really? A senior man was asked, what gets you up in the morning wanting to dive into the day? What is that inspiration that you have? The honest answer was, my bladder mostly. Yeah. Humor aside, is there something that sparks? Is there something that drives, something greater, something bigger? Well, are you ready? Fasten your belts. Yeah, a lot of studies have been done, in this. Maybe we should take off the next slide projection. I don't know whether it can be done. Yeah, if it is possible, there must be some mode. Yeah, and otherwise it will give away all my secrets. Yes, thank you. Just the full slide mode. Yeah, you may, that's okay. Just figure out what you can. Just keep tinkering with that, and while you are doing, we can work on that. Sorry, we want only the slide, otherwise. Yes, all the secrets will come out, and we have many of them. Yes. Yeah, the lot of actual scientific study has been done in the study of motivation. What really drives, what really takes us through, what drives? Is there something? Is there, it's basically the science of motivation. There are those intrinsic drivers, something inside, and lot of things which are outside. So both have to interact. And we can work on what is inside of us, and we may sometimes look at the outside and say, oh, this is their fault, or his fault, or her fault, or this is the environment. But remember, what you do forms part of the extrinsic factor for somebody else, and that is a privilege. That is a privilege to be part of that environment for impacting someone else. So while yes, is it okay? Should I try? Yeah, I think it's all right. We will leave it at that. Yeah, if it is made by Bajaj, just tilt it. It'll work. Yeah. So what is it that drives and motivates? One thing it's gone back to revealing the secrets. It's okay. It's all right. All right. It's okay. Don't worry. Yeah. So you forget what's on the left, okay? Look at what is only on the right. Yeah, the first thing is, it is, about something new. We need that to motivate, and we find that everywhere. You go to a supermarket, there are those tags, new. It's an old one, old shampoo, but there is that sticker which says new something, and it attracts us. It is true. And soaps, SUVs, computers, small shampoo bottle, and that word makes a difference. Have you heard of the old lady who went to the supermarket and said, I want to buy an aftershave for my husband? Do you have something called Old Spouse? Yeah. But we need something new. If we stick around in the same way, we fall behind. Isn't that true? We had one of these. And now when we ask people, what is this model? In many of the meetings, they say it is Ambassador. No, it's not. People don't even know the name. What happened? Once upon a time, it ruled the roost. It was the king of the road. What happened? Some of you might remember. Yes, it is. Now, we see them in a different shape. At that time, if you had gone to Fiat, Premier Padmini, or an Ambassador maker and said, do you want to change something new, something? Hey, no, we are Ambassador. What do you think? We are Baptist. We are believers, medical. We don't have to change. We are this, but unless we learn these lessons, smart people learn from, smart people make new mistakes. So we should not repeat the patented ones. So there needs to be something new. And I remember, excitement of learning new things. I remember coming to Baptist in 88 and joining as a junior medical officer, and I was in the labor room, and there was this labor going on, and and there was an internal examination. I thought it was meconium stained Leica, and the senior nurse there, she came, doctor, this is not meconium stained Leica, this is meconium. That means it is breach. Immediately inform. So I called. They said, no, we just assessed. It is not. They said, no, it is breach. They came running. It turned out to be breach. They said, very good. But I had to confess, it was this nurse who taught me. It was something new that I was learning. There was a lot of excitement to learn every day something new. But over time, what happens is that we tend to, I've known this, I've seen this. Okay, it's nothing new. But no, if we are willing to learn, there is something new all the time. There was, one of our students, DNB students who studied with us in surgery, went off to do minimal access, very good, came back, and we started doing very tiny babies who needed spinal muscular atrophy, who needed fundoplications and gastrostomies, and had to learn from him, but it was exciting. And now we have a series of almost 30 of spinal muscular atrophies with fundoplications and gastrostomies to avoid these reflux-related pneumonitis. And our pediatric neurologist was very, very thrilled to have a big series. So, but learning something from people, receiving, was something which really was very important. There was this 70-year-old man who had bought 2 books. I asked him, he said, "Oh, I'm just learning 2 new languages." Wow, why? But he knew what stimulated, what really kept him going. We have the Sunny, you will know him, the gardener who had this new lawnmower, who was so happy. I'm learning how to use this. That was exciting. If we keep that spark, saying, I'm learning something new. Maybe as medical students, seeing something and saying, I will read that up. When it is fresh, that it becomes a booster dose of learning something new. We used to say, we had a mantra, every week something new has to be done. Every month, as an institution, every month your internal customer, all of us, must recognize that there is something new. And every year, something significant that the external customer has to recognize and say, wow, this is something which is, there is a growth, there change. And that is important as individuals, to keep that motivation going even when we think it is not necessary. And maybe we will take that to heart. So something new, something bigger. I have a story that I use for every group of new joinees. This is a quarry in Bangalore, but now many of them are shut. Now, just behind Baptist Hospital, there's a sheer drop, and there was a quarry. And when we started, there were a lot of injuries, eye injuries. I even remember one disembowelment, with somebody falling and hurting, and the abdomen being burst open with intestines out. So those quarries. So there is a story about 3 people who were cutting stone. It's a very familiar one, but every time I repeat this, I say, wow, this is something that I must remind myself about. The 3 people who are interviewed, by a journalist who comes with a mic and says, hey, what are you doing? Oh, can't you see? I am cutting hard stone here. And I have to do this. The next person goes and says, hey, what are you doing? Oh, this is my job. I feed my family because of that. I'm able to put bread on the table for the children. Who do you think is happier, the first one or the second one? Second one, of course. Yes. And goes to the third person and says, what are you doing? The third person says, oh, I am building a cathedral. All 3 were doing the same thing, maybe in a similar situation, but the third person had the big picture. Isn't that true? If we see in our own little thing, I'm filling up this ledger, I'm checking BP, or I have to write this notes, admission, discharge, or something. But when I fail to see the big picture, that we are impacting many individuals, families, communities, and I am part of that big movement, suddenly there is a difference in the gate. Isn't that true? There is a spring in my and your gate and your steps, if and when we see the bigger picture. So something bigger, so important. Isn't that true? That we see that happen. It was Aunt Ida who said, we're not building a medical college, we're building the kingdom of God. And what a privilege to do that, to be a small spark in that. The third thing is that not just some thing bigger, it is someone bigger. On December 7th, 1988, there was a major earthquake in Armenia, Georgia, Armenia, southern the Russia, part of Turkey. It is also called as the Spitak, the earthquake. Spitak was one of the big cities which was hit. 70,000 people died, and it's a huge number there because density of population is not so big. It was at 11:41 a.m. on December 7th. It was a cold morning. In a particular village, there were, the people had gone out to the fields, so they were safe. But their children were inside a school building, and the entire building had collapsed. They all came running. They started pulling out beams and stones, and they started digging. Some were rescued. Many were dead. They said, okay, it's time to stop. But there was one father, his name was Samuel. He kept digging and digging and digging. People told him, it's already 8 hours, stop. You have to be realist. He said, no, my son is there. No, there is no chance. But he kept digging. And 12 hours, 24 hours, and people said, he's lost his mind. It is time to accept the reality. But he kept digging. And finally, at 36 hours, they heard there was an air pocket and there was this noise, Dad. And there was a weak but happy noise. This boy came out as newsmen clicked pictures, and there were 14 others who were saved in that big air pocket. This Armand, that boy came and hugged his father and said, Daddy, I knew you will come. Because you remember that day you said, I will be there wherever you are. And it became a big emotive news. But then this man kept working because of somebody. Not just somebody who was the driving force, motivation. Isn't that true? What a brilliant motivation. This was the same earthquake, some of those pictures. But then can we have not just something bigger, someone bigger? There is a verse in the Bible. Whatever you do, do it heartily, as to the Lord, and not unto men. Can we say, Lord, I do that for someone, to you? It is something bigger than just something. It is someone. Lastly, before I finish, before you rush into the day, I want to talk about not so little things which matter. Not so little things which matter. Yeah. There are times when, it's got a mind of its own. Yeah. There are times when we need to pat ourselves on the back and get motivated. There was King David in Psalm 42. He says, when he is down, he says, why are you downcast, O my soul? Why are you in turmoil within me? 42 and verse 5. It's very interesting. There are times when you must speak to yourself. We have to speak to ourselves. It's important. And because we are programmed to listen to ourselves, our whispers. And I'm sure some of you have practiced that. Do that. Maybe standing in front of the mirror, make sure the door is closed. But then, it's important to whisper to yourself. And there was one man who was interviewed. He said, when I, lack motivation terribly and I'm down, I sweat it out physically. Sweat it out, take a bath, and then talk to myself. That he said, it invariably works. Maybe David would have said the same thing. There are a lot of these studies, actually, behavioral neuroscience, motivation, and they have said this, they have enumerated this. It's nice to just sit and go through, because we can take lessons and we can learn from them. There are those, yes, physiological realities are there. We cannot run away from that. You cannot always be on that Limca high with tickle in your mouth all the time. No, you will go through those less motivated times, but there are things that you can work on, that I can work on. And, yes, our minds are phenomenal. They do a cost-benefit analysis of saying, yes, this is the reality, this is that. But what why should I? Why would I? There is the cost of switch. They call it the cost of switch. There is the state of being status quo. There is safety in that. Let's agree. Having that status quo is safe. But to move on, to be motivated to move on, takes something, a spark, something different. And, we get motivated to do that. It was Eisenhower, General Eisenhower, who also became the president of the United States, 34th president. And he was the NATO, he commanded the NATO forces during the Second World War. It is the matrix that he brought out, he popularized at least, of the urgent and the important. Urgent and important, there is fire, you better deal with it immediately. Run! It's important, it's urgent. But the dangerous quadrant, it is that important, not urgent quadrant. I found it very, it had a message for me saying, wow, this is what I should be. Because I tend to, postpone it, because there are other things which we can get, delegate or avoid. The not important ones and urgent, yes, we can delegate if possible. Not urgent, not important, delete. Alt Control Delete. Yeah. And, we need wisdom to decide what is what. And it is true in our lives, even as students. And as staff, as senior people, or the wise or the otherwise, we all need this. Yeah. Well, there is something called the rocking chair experiment. That analogy has been used powerfully. Picture yourself sitting in the rocking chair, maybe 15 years from now. And, it's okay to just close your eyes, don't sleep off, but just picture yourself in the rocking chair. And then you say, you're looking back at this day, maybe in November 25, placed here in Believers Hospital. And what do you think you would be happy about? Saying, I did it then, it was good. Oh, so nice that I was able to do that, I was able to say that, I was able to not do that, not say that, or take that decision then. What would you be happy about at that point in time? Well, God has given us sense, common sense, which is not so common these days, but then we need to exercise that and say, yes, this is something that I would deem important enough. And if it is not important, to let go, and concentrate on important, and even if it is not urgent. Let me finish with one story, one real story. This was somebody, apparently a missionary who had come to Manali, visited, and she was going through a time of depression. And she went out, it was springtime, and she suddenly saw these beautiful flowers, and she picked them up and said, it suddenly lifted her spirits. She lifted up and said, Lord, thank you. It is for you. It is for you. And she prayed that prayer, and then she moved on. And a couple of months later, she was in Singapore in a small assembly where there was a prayer going on, and somebody stood up and said, I feel prompted in my heart to say, I don't know to whom it is meant, for whom it is meant. The Lord says, daughter, thank you for your flowers. And she said it came as a bolt from the blue which lifted and wiped my blues away. And maybe we must picture us hearing that. It is valued. If you feel that it's not valued by others, no, look up. And is there somebody who says thank you for that? When we do, Lord, it is an offering for you. I will do that. And that is the biggest motivator. And we will be motivated to see that, do that. And there is something special, something different. I would do the same thing, little differently. And there will be a difference in your gait, in your step. There will be a spring in your walk. And that is true. God bless. It's been a privilege. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Naveen, for that inspiring talk to think why we do what we do. So we have a few minutes for questions. Anybody would like to ask any questions, you're welcome. Yes.
Naveen, could you tell us one or two stories from your real life experiences as a pediatric surgeon in Baptist, or something that will help us understand this a little better, and what motivates you to go on? Thank you so much for that inspirational talk.
Thank you for that. There was, a gentleman who came some time later. He was admitted in the hospital, who came quite some time later and said, my admission in the hospital changed my life. Said, wow, it must have been something that I said or something I thought. Said, what? Who? What happened? Said, no. There was this young nurse who was on night duties those days. She would come, hold my hand and said, I will pray for you. And that concern that she showed really changed everything. That brought back everything, that spark that I was missing. So I said, wow. This was somebody totally unseen, unheard, unsung in one sense, but had made such a difference. So we have our spheres of influence. So, what a privilege it is to do something, say a word of motivation, but when we do that, we receive. When we give, we receive much more, doubly. And I was, thrilled to hear that little story from that person.
Naveen was one of those who, over the years, he's from the batch of 1982 from CMC, and I had the privilege of going for their first retreat with them, and over the years seen, his was one of those special batches. All of us have seen in certain institutions, some batches. Last Thursday we heard about the batch of 1998 from where Daniel Achin and the speaker came from. So his batch was like that, full of, that produced directors for many institutions in India, principals for the medical college and all that. But Naveen was a star who kept going like that, did all the right things. But it was good to hear what fuels you, what motivates you. And I hope that this would be inspirational for many of us. There'd be some questions.
Thanks a lot, Naveen. Actually, Kurivalavarke sir and we were always together in CM of Sunday. I still remember his gentle. I am not a person who adapt. ഫിലിപ്പന്നെ പണ്ട് ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് ഒരു ഫസ്റ്റ് ഇയർ ക്ലാസ്സിന് വന്നപ്പോൾ പറഞ്ഞു പ്ലാനിങ്. അപ്പം ഞാൻ അവിടെ ഇരുന്ന് ഉറക്കെ പറഞ്ഞു, അയ്യോ എൻ്റെ ജീവിതത്തിൽ പ്ലാനിങ് വലുതായിട്ടില്ലല്ലോ എന്ന്, ഞാനൊരു ഫെയിലിയർ ആണോ എന്ന് ചോദിച്ചു. കഴിഞ്ഞ ബാച്ചല്ല, അതിന് മുമ്പിലത്തെ ബാച്ച്. ആൻഡ് ഹീസ് ഓൾവേസ് ഈസ് എക്സലൻസ്, വാട്ട് എവർ യു ഡു എക്സലൻസ്. ആസ് നവീൻ സെഡ്, always be different. And another thing now also said, please consider every person as significant. You said about the nurse, so from the super to the top persons you should hear enikella ariya aa bhava ullarku they cannot progress. So that is one thing we can learn from others, even from security. So many persons, I am a person who learns like that. And another thing, that table, I saw it first when I joined here to 2021. Now I am 70, December 31st. അപ്പം ഗിരിജ മാഡത്തിൻ്റെ അവിടെ ചെന്നപ്പോൾ കണ്ടതാണ് ഇത് ഇമ്പോർട്ടൻറ്റ്, ഏർജൻറ്റ്, നോട്ട് ഇമ്പോർട്ടൻറ്റ്, ഏർജൻറ്റ്, ആ 4 കോളം. ഞാൻ അത് വലിയ കാര്യത്തിൽ എഴുതിയെടുത്തു, പക്ഷേ എൻ്റെ ജീവിതത്തിൽ അത് ചെയ്തോന്ന് എനിക്കിപ്പോഴും സത്യമായിട്ട് പറയാൻ പറ്റത്തില്ല. ആൻഡ് ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് വെരി ഇമ്പോർട്ടൻറ്റ് എസ് എറ്റ്. അതുപോലെ ഡിസൈഡ്, ഡിലീറ്റ് ആൻഡ് ഓൾവേസ്. ആൻഡ് അനദർ തിങ് ഹീ സെഡ് ഈസ് വാട്ട് എവർ യു ഡു ഇറ്റ് വിത്ത് എൻതൂസിയാസം and enjoyment. അത് ടു സ്റ്റുഡൻസ് ആൻഡ് ഓൾസോ ടു us. അല്ലെങ്കിൽ നമ്മൾ ചെയ്യണ്ട. ഇത്ര താങ്ക്സ് എ ലോട്ട്.
So, yes, sorry.
Good morning, sir. That was a wonderful session. Sir, as you were showing the Eisenhower window, I just would want to ask you a question, a very practical question. You were talking about deleting what is not urgent and what is not important. How easy is it to do that?
Yes. It's difficult to let go. Some time ago, one of the things that I noticed, this is personal, what was not important and not urgent that I could delete or at least reduce. I have not been able to delete. I have always been a news junkie, in the sense, tend to have about 8 prominent news things from around the world always on, and tracking the developments. Somehow I felt very responsible for the whole world of realizing, saying, I don't need that. I can access it maybe twice a day. Just to, yes, we need to know. It's a small, silly example probably, but maybe other things that you can say, okay, I know what it is for me in my personal space that I can delete, or at least reduce, subtract, reduce, to make room for what is important. Yeah, I'm sure you'll have your examples. Thank you for that question.
Thank you so much. So I'd request Achin to come forward and give a memento on our behalf to Dr. Naveen, and also say a few words. Achin.
Good morning, Dr. Naveen, welcome. So nice to have you and nice to hear from you. And when Sangeeta asked, I was thinking, it's easy to delete, but it is easy to make that decision to delete. I mean, it's very hard to make the decision to delete, and it's easy to delete, but we go through that every day in our day-to-day life, to make that decision what is important, what is not important, and we waste a lot of time on what is not important, making that decision. Thank you for enlightening us this morning. We appreciate you being here, and thank you once again. And yeah. So if you could.
So thank you all for coming, and I hope you have a very good day. Thank you. And next week we meet again for the next edition of The Quest. Thank you.
സന്ദർശിച്ച് കണ്ടു എന്ന് കാര്യമാണ് സാറിനോട്